Okay, it's now 6:31. Call the 21 May 2020 Templeton Advisory Board or Committee meeting to order. Can we have a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good evening, everybody. A beautiful day out. Did everybody get a chance to see the minutes from last meeting?
Yeah, just finished reading through them.
Okay.
Same here.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
No, nothing that really stood out.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try to keep some kind of notes for this meeting. Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, Lee,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. We got the budget versus actuals. I looked at it. I didn't really see anything surprising on there. I think they are looking. I mean, we're getting near the end of the fiscal year, so the accounts are getting expended, with the exception of like vacation. I think what they're going to do in the first part of next year is they're essentially going to have the departments do a spend plan so they can, if we do go into a 1/12, they can figure out what they're going to do. I personally say this all the time. I'd like to see a spend plan for all year, especially like in amounts of more than like $5,000 at a time. So when you see a big jump, you know, okay, so and so department has to buy X. So it's kind of an odd buy, but you know. Anybody have any questions or comments on the budget versus actuals?
Yeah, Tony, I know you've been pushing for the spend plan for, the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
Based off the way that I have to run my business as well, I do agree. And we'll see where things go in the future. But as far as what we've been delivered right now, the budget versus actual, to your point, I didn't see anything that really stood out.
Yeah. I think the most pressing one is the end of the year. So,
Absolutely.
so Bob, Tom, you have any comments on those?
All good, Tony.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, FY21 budget. We got a text from Adam this week, I think, last week. They are, this is one of the big things that the town administrators are looking at is what the impacts of COVID are going to have on the FY21 budget. I think like we've discussed in previous meetings, I don't think they really know. They don't know what they're going to get repaid. They don't know anything. So I think they're taking a more cautious approach, but they haven't really released any information as to what they're doing.
Well, from my perspective is I see other communities
Hello, Will.
making efforts to being proactive, and here we sit. We're not doing anything, and neither are they. I think and I've been advocating since March, when I knew the revenues weren't going to be there, that we should be actively saying, okay, this is our recommendation. I mean, we haven't done that. Just going through in February, the budget was presented from the administrator. He had his recommendations. Then we had the review by the selectmen in early March, with us joining them. Well, we reviewed the budget. We got to ask some questions. That doesn't mean we've made recommendations. Neither did they. They didn't make their recommendations until much later. I mean, we still haven't made any recommendations. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I see this as an issue. We all know that the meals tax aren't going to be there. Come on, folks, take a look at who's going to buy a new car in today's economy, and to end up seeing that excise tax go up or stay where it is. Everybody knows that the excise tax goes down every year.
Right.
So you know that there's going to be to the revenues. To sit here and not doing anything is not what we're supposed to be doing. And just because you got an administrator who has 35 years and he's gone through some downturns and he doesn't know what the hell's going on, you're right. You guys put out a memo that it's time to take in transition to the new full-time TA. That should have happened. We got the wrong people in management. I'm not gonna say any more. If people on this committee don't want to end up making recommendations for the budget, I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. That's it.
As the town still really think that they're going to hold a town meeting before June 1st, or are they?
No, it's June
3rd.
17th.
I mean, are they going to hold one before July 1st? Because I know we've got it scheduled for June 13th, but we all know that's kind of a dream.
Well, I think that's a 30-day so my understanding is what they did was they can make a 30-day delay and then they can do it again. But I think last I heard was the 17th is what they're pushing for.
Well, on the official site, it says the 3rd.
I know it does, Will, but I think that they're gonna extend it, and they're gonna use that 30-day window again.
So we can't even get it right on the website to tell
Well,
people this.
Well, right. So, but I think it's a procedural thing. You have to be within so many days, because based on what they told us as a committee, we've planned a pre-town meeting for the 4th, based on a 17th date, which the TA told us. So
We already
you got
probably not
you got
going to happen
the
just because of
community to the west of us ended up, you see the selectmen and the finance committee both got together and made recommendations about 5% across the board on expenses. And they tighten up the budget that way. That they at least are making a pass. I don't see anything happening by us or selectmen or administration. What are we going to wait till it's too late and we can't do anything?
So what do you recommend? I mean, so instead of saying, oh, we need to make a recommendation, what recommendation would you make?
Well, I've been advocating that when you get the budget, all you have is one place for us to make our recommendation. I ended up going out above and beyond and putting some stuff so that we could end up going further, drilling further down. Well, if we do it at the upper level and we say, okay, as an example, and I'm just throwing out figures here, selectmen's budget is $378,000. Okay, we come back and say, okay, let's make that 375. Okay, which account was it? There's no way that they can end up telling that the way they presented it to us without drilling down. Number two is, if you look at what's happening next door to us, they actually said it, and everybody's, I'm sure, has seen the newspaper article. They said there will be no raises. And we have $30,000 worth of raises sitting. We have over $10,000 as consultant fees, and we got right in their budget another $2,500 for stipends. That's a start. Then you got the rec commission, who has basically said with all the money that they had, they're canceling everything except swimming. There's another area that you can lower down and at least prepare.
Isn't the rec commission self-sustaining? It brings in, like TCTV, it brings in its own money to
No,
run its budget. I think
they have
that
they did get a couple of years ago. They did get somebody that gave them $10,000, but their budget is basically on the. You can take a look at it. Go in the budget, and you see their budget. They got monies for a bunch of people.
no, I know they have monies, but didn't we raise a few months back, we raised their revolving fund spend limit because they were going to spend more. Now, obviously, this was before COVID, and it was explained to us then that they're a self-sustaining entity. That they only spend what they bring in. They don't use.
They had some fees
money.
for some of the stuff that they have,
Yeah,
and that's what the revolving.
right.
That was the help.
But they
this-
don't
Tony,
take
if I
in.
might,
Yep.
there's, I think maybe what Will's referring to is there's $7,500 in there that was set in as a, basically a feeder account for the summer camp program. Just to, have some cash in there to start it is in the, it will turn into a revolving account, but to feed the account, they, put in requesting 7,500. And there is another 17.5, I believe, in the capital portion of it for weed and seed. So there's just those items that are out of the revolving fund. Just
Okay.
my input.
Okay.
I know this is also, and I don't have the amount right in front of me. I think it's like $13,000 for interns. And that's not usually a paid position. I know in the colleges, the high schools, an internship really wouldn't be paid at the town hall level.
They actually do pay the interns. It's not a lot, but I think they talked about not doing that because of COVID. That's one of the areas that they're looking. To me,
Be a
without
little cautious
having,
with paying interns. Most schools
yeah,
state and
right,
student won't do well in their internship if it's a paid internship.
yeah. My understanding is they're looking at what we're doing, but for us to sit there and go through every single account, which I know Will is in favor of, I don't feel
No.
pers-
Under each account, you can end up saying, "Okay, I agree with all of these
No, I
except
know,
this
I
one
know.
and this one."
Well, I know
That's
that,
a-
Will, but I would be uncomfortable making a suggestion to cut, from whatever account. I'm not even going to make one without talking to that department head to see what that impact is.
I started this long ago, where we could have asked that and gone through and had questions and gone through it.
And see, so
It's
that
now at this particular point, it's almost too late. It's mute. Forget it.
okay, so
Well, actually, it may not be
We-
too late at this point because most communities, other than Templeton, are actually looking at their town meetings being well into the upcoming year,
Yeah.
having budgets approved through DOR.
right. So, and the other thing is, we had the opportunity to look at the budget well in advance and had a meeting to talk to the people about where we think we should cut. And, when they present it, I had some questions on a few things. Other people had questions on a few things, but I was personally happy with what they presented. That's just me personally. I mean, it's a balanced budget. That's what you want. So,
Yeah, but it's not going to be balanced because we know we're getting
No.
probably at least 25%
Exactly right.
less of income from the state.
right. But at the time of the meeting, we didn't know that. We didn't know with COVID. So there were some factors when we had the meeting that were not prevalent at the time.
In late March, I made that because I saw it coming when they started with the COVID.
And let's
Yes, you're right. Earlier on, when we first had the budget review, it made sense that they can end up having it as such. We could have made some minor cuts, but that's past us. Later on, I basically blew the flag and said, "Hey, we're going to have revenue impact all over the place." And we better be proactive. Well, we didn't do it in late March, and we sat there through April and didn't do anything either. Now we're into May.
I think personally, one of the problems is you don't know what the impact is going to be. Is it 5%, 10%, 20%? I don't think we know. I agree with you that I think that they should come up with a plan to be proactive, starting with FY21, of reducing spending early on. But that's, I think that the TA should say, okay, everybody, like you were saying, well, 5%. If you have $25,000 that you're gonna spend in the first year, in the first month, and I'm just making that up, then you can only spend 17.5 or whatever that is. That's
Well,
If I might, I believe there was a letter put out, email put out a while back in the last couple weeks that was of the mind of Adam would be going back and trying to see what this year would look like based off the FY20 and FY19 budgets. And if that is to be believed, those are cuts up to 13% across the board. So I don't think we're really doing nothing. But I think we have very little information to do anything with. It's all guesswork at this point.
Do we know if the accounting department has put together any kind of a work with the TA on what a 1/12 budget would look like for these department heads in the event that that phantom town meeting just doesn't happen? Only speaking as a department head, I in a different town, I know that you need to plan, and these guys need to, and men and women need to sit down and actually figure out how they're going to run their department in July and August and still provide the services that the community deserves.
there was an email put out by the administrator that he was having the assistant administrator look at a 1/12 budget.
Yep, I have that right in front of me.
Do we have any information back from that?
I have not seen any emails back from that. I have not. I don't see anything back from,
There hasn't been any
no.
that I've seen.
Nope.
Do we know if anyone from town, the administrator, or either one of them is, monitoring the meeting at all?
No,
and on this?
not usually. They'll watch it after the fact. It doesn't mean we can't. I can email them and ask them for an update on what they're looking at for the FY21 budget.
That'd be a good idea, only because if we for us to work off of numbers that we know aren't going to be factual, I don't think it's very productive for the town.
Right. And then there is, and this is a little different case because of COVID, there's to the point of, if you do have town meeting on the 17th and you approve the budget as it originally was pre-COVID, there's some concerns there that now they're going to have to actively force people into preserving capital.
Well, and once the fiscal year starts going forward, the departments start spending their money as it's voted, or should be spending it as it's voted.
Right.
So if the further along you go into the year before you sit and look and say, oh, we have an issue, we didn't get our money, the deeper the cuts and the harder the problems are at that point.
That's exactly right, Tommy, because some communities are actually going out and saying that they're going to end up having layoffs because of this.
I was trying to think of how do we compare this to the school budget last year and the fiasco that was, and how we had to wait, and fortunately it worked itself out.
Well, I think last year with the 112th budget they were working with is a little different than having your day-to-day departments
Yeah.
work with it, because to actually have, you have to put certain things on hold, even if you're, some departments buy certain things in July. Well, if they only get in the 12th of their budget, that purchase may not come till September when we actually have the
Right.
factual numbers.
Right. And unfortunately, we don't know what % impact this COVID's going to have on things like the meals tax, the excise tax, even real estate taxes. If people are out of work, they may not be able to pay their real estate taxes. And I think, they should kind of understand that. In July, meals tax might come back. It may not be as big a hit as they start opening restaurants to where you can actually eat in or whatever. But it's hard to say. I mean, people being out of work now has an effect. But it's more what's happening to the revenues of FY21. So, all right.
To sit back and wait for something to happen to me is the wrong thing to do. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're sitting back and waiting.
Okay, well, what do you want us to do? Give us a suggestion.
I just mentioned some stuff that could be cut out of the budget per se. And I see you, you're wincing.
But Will, you have your pet things like.
No, that's not my pet things. Those are things that could be cut out in anticipation of not getting the revenue. I mean, other communities are actually saying this is they're not going to give raises.
Okay.
We got $30,000 worth of raises in the budget. Come on. Even if we were to cut it in half, that would be proactive.
Okay, I will put that in. I will put that in the email that I send to them. The raises, the selectman's stipend.
Maybe not necessarily making cuts right now, but we need to look forward and not be bringing. They need to be tasked with the challenge of putting numbers in front of us and in front of the town that actually are real. You can't be, I don't necessarily say you have to cut certain things right now, but you have to put numbers forward that are going to make sense in the first quarter of the next fiscal year. Whatever quarter is not going to be normal.
Okay. If anybody has anything that they want me to put specifically in the email, send it to me and I will make sure I include it. And I'll take everything you have, Will. I'm happy to bring it forward.
I'm not making any recommendations. I'm not going to be the only one sitting here and saying there needs to be cuts. This should be done by the committee. This is not a Will Spring saying all these cuts. If you guys can't end up saying this is our recommendation, then I'm going to sit back and saying, okay, what's our recommendation for the budget? Anybody going to make a recommendation? Or we're going to make a recommendation that the budget that's there is okay?
I think a lot of the comments were just that the budget isn't okay that's there because we know that's not real numbers.
I agree with you, Tom.
So I think that we may not necessarily need to say they need to make cuts, but we need them to bring forward numbers that are real, which will result in cuts in certain areas as far as capital most likely, and that to avoid laying off any type of personnel. But I think that without seeing those numbers come forward, the budget we were presented, it doesn't exist anymore, only because of the fact that that time period doesn't exist anymore. With the pandemic, it's changed everything. So we should be having something put in front of us that is going to make sense going forward, dealing with this, not necessarily what would have made sense 4 months ago when it was properly created.
Well, all I can say, Tom, is other communities have their selectmen and their finance committee sitting down and going through the budget and saying, okay, let's cut back on this much because we know the revenue's not going to be there. We're not doing that. We're not making it as a committee, nor do I see it coming from our administration at this particular time. And we're less than a month away from what is anticipated as annual town meeting.
Maybe possibly the select board should be proactive and make a decision that they're going to postpone town meeting, then we know where we're starting from.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that what you both said is that we need to probably look at a revised budget, but the warrant's already done. So unless we bring forward, I'm going to put that in the email that that they even talked about a revised budget based on COVID.
If you look at the selectmen's meeting, I haven't seen anything.
I did not get a chance to watch their last one yet. Okay. Next topic is member terms. Tom, I know you will have to resubmit.
It's going to have to wait till after the annual town meeting.
Well, it has to be in conjunction with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because his term right now goes through
Till the end of annual town meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, as does everybody's. So if anybody is, Bob, do you know of when you're, you just got reappointed for 3 years, right?
For one,
For one. So are you due this year too?
yeah, I'm done this year.
Okay. Okay. Are you planning on resubmitting?
No,
Okay. So that's one. I know of another one that's probably not gonna, I'm not sure when Debbie is. I know Amy is got another year.
Tony, I am planning on resubmitting.
You are? Yeah. Okay. And Will, you're good for another 2 years, right?
That's correct.
Right. And I'm good for one more year. Okay. I just want to put it out on social media that there's the possibility of at least 2 positions opening up on the committee, then put their stuff in for town meeting. So the next term was committee reorganization. I think we probably need to wait until we have after town meeting.
You can't really do that, Tony, until after 30 days because of the present bylaws. You have to wait at least 30 days after the annual town meeting when the administrator will end up making his appointments. And then you can have reorganization.
I don't understand.
Well, you have town meeting and he's going to
Right.
make appointments. He has up to 30 days after that to make appointments. He may not fill all the positions that are open. So you
Well,
have,
right, but he doesn't appoint us. It's the moderator that does ours.
that's what I'm saying, the moderator.
Oh, you said the administrator. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. No, you're right. You're right. So, hopefully we'll have people. Okay.
So you really have to wait until he has gone through his process of making his appointments.
Yep.
And then you can reorganize. Then you know who's on. If after 30 days, we still have vacancies and he hasn't appointed it under the present bylaw,
Yep, I know. We know.
it's up to
Yeah,
us.
it's up to us. Yep. Okay. All right. We have any old business?
Yeah, have we heard any more on that response from the Board of Selectmen or from the TA on the
Well,
reorganization?
Well, I got
office?
an email from, and I think he sent it to everybody. If not, I'll forward it to everybody. From the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, said they're working on it. And all the details he gave me, that it's in works.
I found
Yeah,
that very curious that he was the only one that he's working on it, and you have another selectman that says there's no plan.
I thought the same thing. Well,
Sounds like the same stuff we've had going on for a while.
Forever.
yeah, that's one of those things that, we made our suggestion and we really have no authority over it. And
Could that officially get put on a Board of Selectmen's meeting agenda? And that way we know it's going to be discussed?
you can ask him to, but we can't. We can ask them to put it on their meeting, but they don't have to put it on.
Past history has shown that we have asked for a number of things, Tom, and it hasn't been put on the agenda. Does that answer your question?
I was trying to.
Does without having watched the Board of Selectmen looked at the agenda exactly, do they also allow for a like comments from the community, and
They do.
up under that?
Under this format, I don't know if they do, but normally right in the beginning of the meeting, they open it up for comments from citizens.
Okay, so I'd say the legitimate thing then, if they don't put it on the agenda, then as citizens, we should bring it up as a comment.
Well, history has shown us that people have brought stuff up on the comments, and they just sit there and just look at the individual and ignore it throughout the whole meeting, Tom.
I second that.
We've seen it all, haven't we, Bob?
Couple times.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That I know we've asked for things, but I will ask for it to be put on the agenda. I think their agenda for their next meeting is pretty full, but after that, I'll ask them to put it on for their next meeting.
Tony, why don't we ask them to put it on right with the Scout Hall meeting?
You know what?
I just figured, throw it out.
I'm sorry, Bob.
No, that was good, Bob. It's been a long day. Thanks for making me laugh.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
You're welcome, Tony.
I will put that in the email, and as usual, I send it out to you all. Any new business? All right. As of right now, and I probably need to know, I think by next Tuesday, to get it into the paper, we'll have to do the pre-town meeting via this format. I don't know if we open it up to everybody on Zoom or if we do it via YouTube Live. I'm not sure how that works. I'll have to figure that out. So I'll get it in. So the pre-town meeting will be June 4th. If they push the town meeting into July, then we'll go with a regularly scheduled meeting on the 4th.
If we have the Zoom meeting by pre-town meeting via Zoom, because we know we can't go forward as a regular meeting, it's going to be a pretty short meeting, I would think, because until we actually get real numbers, I can't see how we can pass any type of financial article.
You're right.
Well, yeah, it's a good point. We'll see when I send them this email what they say, and right. So now we have the dichotomy of what if they don't change the numbers, and they go forward with the numbers in the budget.
Well, if they don't change the numbers, I guess obviously they can go forward with the numbers.
Yep.
But it'd be the most ridiculous thing ever done in the history of finances, because we know that it's not financially going to be the same.
I agree.
Welcome to see it.
Yeah.
This is Templeton, Tom.
I agree with that. As I don't think we're going to have the revenues that they expected, and I think that the warrant should be adjusted to that. but they're the ones that have to come up with the adjustment.
Well, I was gonna say, Tony, that's one of the reasons why, even back when we were going with the budget, it was, with this going on, it seemed pointless to participate because all these numbers are false now.
Yep.
The warrant to me is a useless piece of paper for the most part. Some of it's still valid, but much of it is, gone.
Anything to do with finances is, to me, well, it's in theory it's valid, but it's not realistic.
It's up in the air, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I even if they were to hold the annual town meeting on the 17th, their participation, because of this epidemic that's going on,
Yeah.
is going to be very poor to none. I'll tell you right now, if it can't be held by Zoom or some other way, I'm not going to put myself. I mean, take a look. We can't. They have not opened it up for large amount of people meeting together yet.
Right.
So I don't see how they can end up even talking about an annual town meeting.
So what they did, Will, and I'm not saying that they've settled on this, is they've been talking with the school. Could they open all the classrooms and limit it to like X amount of people in the classrooms, and so you can social distance in the gym? They already know the auditorium's out. I don't think that's an effective way to do it.
I'd like to say something on that, Tony, that, if you've been to enough town meetings, everybody on this panel has, to know that the demographic that usually shows up is one that probably is not going to be going
Yep.
To any closed structure. Is not going to be going to sit 3 in this class, 3 in that class, and so forth. They're just going to be staying home.
I agree.
And I can't blame them because most of them are in the, risk category.
Yep, I agree with you.
So I agree with everybody here that I think, we're in new territory and we'd have no directions as of yet. So trying to do anything is, just a guess, best guess.
Maybe we could ask the Board of Health to weigh in to, because they've done pretty well with staying straight according to what they feel the interpretation is of the guidelines from the governor. And even recently, then they're not allowing, they're holding tight to the 10-person regulations on any of that up at the school. And maybe they could weigh in and actually give the Board of Selectmen some advice on that, because
Well, hopefully they are.
if it's not coming, then that'll help out maybe the board.
Okay. I'm actually writing down all the stuff we need to send to them this time.
That's wishful
Okay,
thinking,
yeah.
Tom.
Yeah. Well, I would hope that
Start somewhere, Will. We got to start somewhere.
I'm hoping
I don't disagree with you, Tom. And what you said is should end up happening. It's just wishful thinking that we could end up having this community work the way it's supposed to, and it never has, and I don't know why.
All right. And one thing I will, I'll find out from the paper. I mean, we could put it in the paper Monday or Tuesday of the week prior, the first week of June, if we need to try to get a few extra days. So if by some reason before then, what I don't want to do is have an expenditure for an ad in the paper, and then we don't have the meeting. I mean, we're going to have our meeting, but if it's not the pre-town meeting.
I'm hesitant to think and say that we, on the 4th, Tony, you're going to end up really having a pre-town meeting per se because of this whole situation. I mean, we got a plan. I totally agree, but I don't think it's going to come to fruition.
Well, right. So that's what I need is, and I'll be in contact with the Board of Selectmen and the TA as to what when when's realistic for town meeting, because I mean, we could push it to the 11th, have an out of cycle meeting on the 11th if we needed to. Which is a thought. Have our regular meeting on the 4th, and then have a pre-town meeting on the 11th.
Tony, what happens if the pre-town meeting isn't held in the appropriate time?
Then we're breaking the bylaw.
Yeah, we break the bylaw, but I mean, we can.
Would that then entail force the town meeting to be postponed?
No.
No.
If we don't do our job, it still happens.
So what we can do is we can probably go all the way up to 6th. They usually need 3 or 4 days to get it from once I submit it to get it into the paper. So I probably have until the 7th to get it to the Gardner News to make sure it's in. The one thing the bylaw doesn't state is how long before the pre-town meeting the ad has to be in the paper. We try to do it 3 or 4 days. We had an incident with the last fall meeting that the Gardner News kind of dropped the ball on us, and
The only requirement, Tony, is that we have to have our recommendation 2 days before the annual town meeting.
yeah, actually Adam already asked me for them, and I said, well, when we have our pre-town meeting, we'll have your recommendations. So and I think he understood that. So I mean, I would like to have it as, about 2 weeks prior to town meeting, but maybe we'll see what happens next week, and I'll communicate via email as long as you don't hit reply all. Well, actually, you can hit reply all because the town meeting, open meeting laws are a little different right now. So why don't we say that tentatively we'll do June 4th for the pre-town meeting based on a town meeting for the 17th. I know the election is going to be held on the 22nd, and they're figuring that out, but all right. Any other comments on pre-town meeting?
Then I think we really need to make sure that they get us realistic figures so we can actually have a discussion about the upcoming budget. That's the only difference, because
Yeah,
the budget as it is, I
agree.
don't know how anybody could be forward to putting that forward.
So if anybody has anything that they want me to include in the email about the budget and whatnot, please send me an email and I'll make sure I get it in. And of course, I'll copy everybody when I send the email to the TA and the Board of Selectmen. Right, anything else? Will?
Nothing. I'm done.
Okay,
I'm just, at this particular point, there's no need of taking it up, even trying to progress here.
okay. Anybody else have anything? Then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye.